Hi, this is Sheila with Conscious Conversation Central, and today is Tuesday, May the 12th, 2020. And yay, I get to hang out with my gal pal posse, Lisa Flameno Rush and BZ Rieger. And you know what, BZ, you never did tell us what else we started chatting, and then something new came in for us to play with. And I just, for some reason, the minute I started to say what we're going to play with, I was like, well, wait a minute, we never heard what else was on the ticket. So, but this one kind of came in and took supersede whatever was coming in before. So you've chosen. And now, when will you begin in earnest? Is the title of this particular conversation. And so I think I'm not quite sure exactly how it is that conversating with the three of us beforehand inspired this, but because you started talking about something, I'm like, I'm kind of over that. Is that what inspired that? Or
yeah, it was a combination of those things, because to me there's that space in between. We're over that and we've chosen this, so you've chosen. Well, okay, but when are we going to begin in earnest? Because that's how you get over that faster, because you're bringing it forward, because you're that good.
Yeah, well, it's been coming on for me for a little while of not really caring to enter into too much red pilling, so to speak. I know you never really considered it that. You talked about love pilling, but everybody gets to choose, and it feels like there's been a lot of choices made in the last little bit here. To me, anyway. Some of what I'm seeing, I don't go out that much, but when I do go out, seeing some of these choices that would appear to be made. Okay, I get it. You've chosen that. I don't choose that. So, I think we talked, and I can't remember because, I talk so much. I can't remember where I said this, but we talked about how I encountered that gal that was doing the Instacart shopping. And I just was carrying in my frequency what I'm going to do for me. And I feel like she felt attracted to that, but she was also scared and kind of, I used the word chased me down a little bit, like I just walked past her and, held what I know to be true for me, that I'm not afraid. I'm not going to wear a mask. I'm not going to change the way I walk in the world and encounter others due to something that clearly to me just feels ridiculous on every level, and then some. So I just don't feel the need anymore. I used to want to wake people up so badly to have people to play with, and maybe part of that, because I've been wondering about that, you two showed up to play, and I think there'll be others to show. I don't need to wake up people anymore. I don't have to. I'm not.
No. Well, it's also, that's kind of on the, in earnest, the lesser expansive part of this conversation is that propensity, that need to wake up others, pulls us away from, in earnest, beginning what we've chosen. Right?
I think you're right about that. And I'll tell you why I feel that way. What's coming in for me in this moment of now, when you said that, I said to you off camera in regards to my having gone into a local grocery store here. I went and checked in the state of North Carolina about masks are encouraged. They are not mandated by anything or by anyone anywhere in the United States. They are not mandated. This is something everyone is doing voluntarily.
Like
Even if
taxi.
they think they're not, they are. And I was shocked to learn that these employers that these young people work for, most of the ones that I encountered in this particular grocery store were all young. And I asked the question, I noticed you're all in masks. Is this something that your employer is requiring? The answer was yes. And so that to me is that there's a choice being made in that instance for those folks, whether they know it or not, whether they've done any kind of research about it or not, they are choosing to mask themselves in order to bring in money. It's a valid choice if that's what they've chosen. More power to them. And I would never do that. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to play that game. It's not something that is being required on any level, except that folks are allowing it to be a requirement, apparently, because they think they have to for their job or whatever the reason is. And, you know, I don't know. I don't know that this goes into what you wanted to talk about.
Well, it's over here on the edge of it. So it's a good setup in sense. Okay, so you've chosen. Now, when will you begin in earnest in the direction
to stand in that choice?
Yes. To stand in that choice, to be in that choice, to come from that choice, to connect with that choice, to create from that choice, to play with that choice, to play with others in that choice, to focus solely in that choice, to have all of your energetic wherewithal and creativity and love focus be imbibed by, imbued in, right? Coming forth from. You get like
Yep.
Because and I heard a number of voices just now, because the propensity says, well, but you gotta, or that's a choice, or you don't understand, or someone has. Okay, great, cool. However, we're looking this way and saying, you know, the choice, and that's why I made the observation that, well, oftentimes you said, you know, you no longer feel the need or want to do the red pilling. Well, because that's a very good propensity for that usually is a way to turn you back away from your choice. Because people think, well, yeah, but if I wake them up, then that's my choice. No, this going back this way. Because you have a knowing of what you are in your expansion of care. You may interact, you may intersect, you may come in, and your expansion and what you're doing may, you know, two beings may meet, and in a natural connection, there may be some love pilling going on, where it's just an experience that gives some data and has an interplay, and then you each go on your way, whatever that is. And so, yes, that involves that, but that's the forward expansion movement, not turning back around and going, you gotta come, or did you know, or what the hell's the matter with you, or but I'm right, or you don't understand, or right? Just understand what I'm saying? It's a frequency thing.
Well, yes, I get what you're saying. And I also, the whole thing that kept coming from me the whole time you're speaking on that is the idea that I can't stand in this alone, which I now know is not so, by the way. I mean, at this point for me, it doesn't matter. I will stand in this on my own if that's where I feel I am. So the beginning in earnest part, I guess what part of my own, not everybody else's, let's just be very clear, my own proclivity for trying to turn and wake folks up was so that it would be more than one. And, you know, I was sharing with the two of you, perhaps part of my feeling in that not being desirous of concerning myself with that anymore. Part of it is the fact that I get it. I absolutely get it now. Everybody gets to choose. And not everybody is going to choose to wake up. I
Right.
had to get that in every
Right.
fiber of my being. And I now got that.
Definitely. And that's okay.
Say what, Lisa?
And that's okay.
Yes, it is okay. But I had to get to that point first. And now that I'm there, I'm like, okay, next. Because I mean, I kind of feel like that. I want to play with people who want to play with me. I don't want to waste my time trying to convince everybody else to come out and play with me. I'm not interested in that anymore. I want to get to the playing part.
Right. So the earnest and playing part, now we've arrived. That's what we're playing with right this moment.
Okay. Thank you very much.
So
Because
that's
that's what I'm.
and when, so if something comes up within you that says, well, I don't want to do that anymore, cool. So you're using the constricted side of the reinforcing your choice, right? So what's the expansive side? How do you show up? And if something, I'm going to say a number of kind of thoughts that come to mind, or questions that might come to mind, or navigational points that might come to mind. So you've chosen a great. Now, how are you in earnest? How are you moving forward on any of your bodies, all of your bodies, to step into that, play in that, actively connect and participate in that? So that's one to play with. Then when you're doing that and you're thinking about that, and you kind of want to keep going back at not to do that, or no, I'm not done with them, I'm moving, right? But you spend a lot of time saying that you're done with them, or you're moving along, or right, it keeps and this is a proverbial you, right? So that you keep catching your eye. Okay, so again, since it's only you here, how do you play with that so that you can claim your choice, own your choice, know it, and move forward and begin in earnest again? So it's, right? Yes, I'm choosing again. I'm clear. Can't you hear me? I'm clear, right? The choice, and when is over here. Then when another one to play with, kind of a tangent of that is, there doesn't seem to be anybody else who's made that choice and is clear. Okay, well, how do you play in that? Does that change you? Does it knock you off? Does it rock you a bit? Does you go, well, it's lonely out here, or maybe I'm missing something, or maybe if I, right? So where is that? Because that's a tip off to, is that an intellectual exercise, or is that a being and knowing thing? So another one, in that all to play with is, okay, well, you made the choice. You're thinking, well, wow, there's so many possibilities, there's so many potentials, or what if I don't choose the right one, or is this the right way, or how do I know, or someone's going to tell me, right? Two more I'll bring up, and then we can play with some, none, or all of those. Another one is you made the choice and you're moving forward, and you meet a couple people, and or you run across people where they say, hey, let's play. Well, what am I? I'm sharing my thing, you're sharing your thing. We're co-sharing, co-creating, co-dreaming, co-playing together. And wouldn't it be wonderful ifs, right? And how do you navigate that so that it's always going this way and not a kind of a ruse that's turning back that way? And the last one, possibly play with, is you're beginning in earnest, and so that You know it from your heart that that's just the next steps to go. Whatever they are, you can't get it wrong and you never get it done. Because you're eternal.
Well, the minute you said that, the one right before that last one, I jumped straight to that last one because I now know on every level of myself that, you know, there are no wrong turns. There are no wrong choices, wrong decisions. What we might prejudge as we look at our path along the way, or most specifically for me, it has been in the moment. When I look at it in the moment, if generally there's always a choice to be made. And if I concern myself with making the wrong choice too much, well, I'm just shooting myself in the foot. And no matter what I'm choosing, I'm going to be that much. I do now see for myself in such huge ways that, you know, for me, it goes back to knowing that there's, you know, there's something greater than me. There's this larger portion of me that's directing most of what's going on here. I'm in contact, yes, but I'm not always in the know. And I now get it as to why that is, because I kind of like to try to control things. So I feel what you were saying there, especially on the very last one, you know, on those two, they kind of go hand in hand for me.
Mm-hmm.
When you spoke to, you know, when you turn, and this is nearly for me, when I turn and try to, you know, wish to bring someone along, right? Part of that, I think, for me, before now, had to do with, maybe being right had a lot to do with it. You know, I had this attachment to being right until I could see that it was right for me and not for others. Right. I now really feel that. But then too, that it also has something to do with, for me, it was a fear of my not being correct and going a different way than everybody else. That was also something I had to look at for myself, to the point that now I just know. I know this is what I want for me. And it really doesn't matter if the folks that I really would like to have along on this journey get it or not.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, sometimes it can, when you look around and you want to have someone to play with. If there's nobody to play with, you might feel a little sad. But I found out that if I just show up and play, then folks will show up to play too. Might take a minute, but they will show up. So I'm not quite sure, you know, like I said, in these moments, I definitely don't want to spin my wheels trying to convince folks that obviously are choosing something else. That doesn't feel good to me.
Right. No, I agree. I meet people where they are energetically. Like I can feel it because I'm okay with where they are. It doesn't matter to me. I have no agenda that they wake up quickly, because really that doesn't affect me. I affect me. So I'm about me. And that doesn't mean that I don't take the whole into consideration, because I'm leading from the perspective of the whole. And so then I know that everything that's right for me is right for the collective me as well, because that's the leading umbrella that I'm moving through things with.
Well, I'd like to share what I just heard, because there'll be more than one, I'm certain, that will say this. Okay, yeah, that's really great and everything, but while we're all doing that, They're marching us straight to tyranny. Don't you see what's going on? And I have to say this about that. I cannot, that feels like a whole bunch of out there that is in the future. And all I can tell you is I'm standing in my own sovereignty now. And what I mean by that is that I've made choices for me, and I don't feel the need to wake up everybody else who obviously wants to wear masks and wants the chip and the vaccine or whatever, right? I'm already very clear in every portion of me. I will not wear a mask. I will not take a vaccine. I will not take a chip. I don't give a flying flip who's doing what out there. So for me, that's a non-starter. It doesn't matter to me how many ever and whatever and what all, and it's not in my field in the moment. So I don't, you know what I mean? Because there's a lot of that going on out there too. It's we got to wake everybody up because of this, and a lot of it has to do with this is sort of a liberty energetic or a sovereignty energetic with this little tinge of something in it that is I don't know, there's something around the edges of it that doesn't feel quite right. And maybe
go
ahead.
I was just going to say, my sovereignty is not dependent upon your anything. Doing, saying, agreeing with any of it, really. It is how I feel and then how I perceive. And it's solely an energetic that I carry. And then when I am actively engaged in that knowing and then the doing, everything that I do is aligned with the greater portion of me. And so I know that I'm going where I need to go. Even if the little me has no idea what that looks like in this moment of now, I know, little me, that the big portion of me knows exactly the where, what, and why for, and so I'm going with it. And I have years and years of data behind me now, where at first I was just testing it as a theory, and to where I have so much hindsight vision, I cannot deny me and to myself any longer. And I won't. I wouldn't want to. And I also wouldn't want to deny you to you either. And so I love and cherish and support you in your journey. So when I'm interacting with someone, I meet them where they are. I know where they are going, right? I know where they have been. And I also know where they are. And I'm okay with all of it. And they show me their choices. And I just do this for myself personally. If someone asks me questions, and I get a lot of people that do, I am very excited to answer those questions with what I know. I'm excited. When the door is open, I'll walk through it. And I'm excited to, and with a joyful heart. And when I'm asked to leave, I do so immediately with a humble and grateful heart. And so in meeting everything that way, I have no urgency for you or for me to do anything other than, follow your greatest desire. And if our desires match, then magnetically we'll attract to one another and have probably a longer walk together than somebody who's chosen something different, because maybe I'll bump in with them. Maybe Source is giving them an opportunity, a choice point, if you will. And I'm going to be there emanating, Source's offer with an open heart, a glad heart, a humble heart, a grateful heart to be here now. And what they do with that is none of my business.
That's right. That's absolutely right. Yeah.
Well, that's perfectly said.
And what you're describing, both of you there, is that first of this kind of like self acknowledging, self realizing, self. Oh, wow, look at that. Steps for yourself.
Yeah.
So you've chosen,
Mm-hmm.
right? Have you? Have you really?
Mm-hmm.
Is it an intellectual exercise choosing? Is it a knowing? Because,
Yeah.
there's less likelihood to look back over your shoulder and, well, geez, bees, they're going to put us in jail. We got to wake up. Okay. But that's on the prescription of going in the opposite direction. So railing against something instead of standing in your knowing and your choice. As soon as this conversation will only be felt resolutely when you can, at least for a moment, suspend being small and suspend being in the place where you are at the behest of every other being and you are the last frigging pebble flea speck that there is, with no abilities, no inherent qualities, and no powerful creational force whatsoever. And if that's the case, so you've chosen. But perhaps it's a different choosing that you've chosen. When you, it's a frequency thing, and that's going to keep coming up in front of all of us, no matter where we are or what we've experienced or how we hold things, and the different depth of our field and aperture that we're widening in our consciousness. It'll keep coming to reflect, to play with, to, can we clean it up more? Can we clean it up more? Can we clean it up more? Can we broaden the depth of field? Can we enhance our bilocational, trilocational, multilocational consciousness aperture? Can we more purely, more cleanly, more resolutely stand in our knowing, which is, it's just this, 1,000-year-old oak tree stanchion of energy, as opposed to, an intellectual thing where the wind blows. Because when you hold that, you are that powerful, and it changes everything. It has ramifications and reverberation and resonance, embracing, and not sure the right term, but a resonance responding or responder capabilities. Think of a tractor beam in Star Trek. When your resonant field and the resonance of your field enhances more and more in that knowing, in that, it's just you're not small. You're not limited in any way, shape, or form. You are now creating a tractor beam that beams those particles of things lining up, of creation, of co-creation, of people to play with, of things to do, in a way of circumstances where there is no actual thwarting or limiting. There may be, just a flash of it here and there to, again, give you something, a point to refer and go, yes, I choose this. I create this. I do this. And so you're changing the field of your field and all that you come into. Because your frequency determines the reality that you're in.
Yes. And the beauty of that is it is not dependent upon your neighbor's frequency,
That's
what you
exactly
experience.
so. That's exactly.
Not at all. And when your frequency is set, that little birdie came and tried to sit on the side of the gazebo. He was like trying to get in here. Sorry. That took my attention. There's quite a few birds here going crazy. Sorry. What was I saying?
Well,
Sorry. It's
no,
gone.
that's okay. That's quite all right. I wanted to say to, because it came to me to share
Yes.
specifically, because I've done this and I still, listen, I don't know. I still cannot tell when something is an intellectual exercise for me until I experience the alchemical epiphany. That's when I know.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
Yeah.
look at that! You know, so I want to say, as far as I'm concerned,
Mm-hmm.
even an intellectual exercise put me originally into a different frequency, because at least I'm considering it.
Right.
I over there without the intellectual exercise. So if you are there, if you are wondering, oh, am I having an intellectual exercise or is it alchemical epiphany, and you're judging yourself because you're not sure, whatever, give it up. Let me just say, give it up.
Right.
Keep practicing whatever it is you're practicing, because once you get it, you'll know the difference. And it's just delicious in that moment, I will say. And like I said, seeing something is half the issue.
Yes.
Seeing something and moving towards it in every moment is, or at least it has been for me. And I'm not going to stop just because I think, well, am I really actually getting this, or is it an intellectual exercise? I don't know.
Well, and that's, so right there, you bring up a great point. I'd love to mark that. So the intellectual exercise is very helpful, as you say. And it's an incredibly valuable tool because one will say, oh, wow, I've got it, right? And what they really have is an intellectual exercise, which is not a bad thing.
No, not a
Right?
bad thing
Right.
at all.
Okay, we're not saying that. So I've
Right.
got it, it's great. And you go along these things and then, but then there's a noticing that that's an intellectual exercise as opposed to it being locked in, as opposed to it being a knowing, because then nothing can dissuade you. Nothing. You can have hurricane force winds come and go, yeah, that's cool. I know who I am and I know where I'm going. On this particular one, I can absolutely say yes and go. And so if this happens or that happens, or I'm experiencing this or this, I bring, X experience to me, and I may describe it as perceived to be buffeting or a little uncomfortable, or wow, I'm having, resisting this, or I'm frustrated by this, or I'm looking at how I'm interplaying with this other being and, it's ticking me off. Again, as I've shared this before, for me, I get in the ticked offness and I may, take a stick and beat it against a fence for a little bit to let my ticked offness really, resonate. And that gets me to the gratitude part. That gets me to the place where I can go, wow, I'm so thrilled that I called this experience forth, that I called that being forth, to have this resonant frequency set up where it burst that intellectual exercise bubble. It burst those pokey things in me. It burst whatever resistance there may have been, right? Whatever, you can call it all different things, right? It'll be different for everybody.
Right.
And I'm so grateful in that, because now I can, in that clarity, it may be, all over me, like bubblegum blew up or whatever it was. I have a metaphor for yuck and stick, right? But now I can see that, and I choose again. So, so now you've chosen, and how will you begin in earnest? We're eternal. So newsflash, we've chosen, we're beginning in earnest. We know it. We've got it. We're expanding. And then, because we're not getting smaller, we're getting more expansive constantly, continuously. And since we are the all and the singularity, we move everything down as all others move everything down in that way. And the critical mass, the critical coherence expansion is such that it's moving it down. And so someone just said, well, does that mean that you don't pay attention to, what's going on, or a violation of this or things? And for me personally, it absolutely does not mean that. I mean, I spend many K's worth of dollars to keep the IUV running a year. So no, and I work hard to make the money to do that, right? For that very reason, to bring it. But I don't let it dissuade me. I don't let it pull me off. I've chosen, and I keep going forward. For me personally, that's what I choose to do and want to do and know. And also because I know it has expansive ramifications for the all. And it's part of shining my light. It's part of being a warrior of light. And so I move that forward. Does that mean that it's always smooth sailing? Absolutely not. Right? But I keep choosing. And so in these moments that what someone said, now what's the difference? There seems to be, you're kind of highlighting, it seems to be there's a difference. And yes, there is a difference. Because right now, the pot of consciousness, the pot of a hyper accelerated expansion and ascension and transformation is in a full rolling boil. Okay, ever watched a pot of water, or if you're making jam or something, there's a full rolling boil to get it to set into the consciousness, to get it to set into whatever metaphor you want to use from that, right?
Right.
That's where we are. And that's the, so you've chosen, and how do we move it forward? Individually for yourself, with those you choose to co-create with and play with, and for the all, not just the all, humans, not just the all on this planet and humanity, the whole enchilada all, in all of Source's multiverses.
Do you think that that's the biggest issue? All of a sudden, I feel as though, and this is random question, I guess. All of a sudden, it feels like that is absolutely at the core of all of this. Is that the majority of humanity still, I guess, it's quite something to wake up to the fact that you are all and yet singular. And, because of the separation between different things, I don't know, I'm just, all of it, all at once, that just came in really huge, that is at the absolute root of all of this. And it applies to all of it too, not just those that we would think of as light, but those that are dark as well. because I've often felt that they've been sold a bill of goods too, different than ours, but a bill of goods just as well, that they're small and they have to do things in this particular way to get things that they want, which is different than the way we've always come up. But it's just like with politics. It's the also for me, having been exposed to Sophia Love's book, The Imposter, that being that was not just God, Yahweh, but also Lucifer and the other things. It's all the same thing. It feels very much the same thing, just a different set of information. So at the very core of it, the knowledge that we are all and yet singular seems to be the above the line, as you call it, above the fold, the most important information. And well, that puts a different spin on things too. Once one knows that, now you're talking about a whole other set of things when it comes to sovereignty, responsibility, accountability, liability for all of what I got going on right here. And that's a scary thing to start feeling into at first too, by the way, especially if it's still just an intellectual exercise, which on some level of me, I suspect may actually be so. Otherwise, we'd be, having a bit of a different conversation, I have a feeling. But still, thank you, phone. Count on my phone.
That's why the title says, "So you've chosen."
And now, when will I begin in earnest? Okay, well, boy, oh boy, wasn't that a good thing? Okay. I fall into those kinds of things.
And you know what? I love that as a thing you could say to yourself every time you're frustrated about the state of affairs in the world.
Right.
That's a good idea, actually.
That's the answer.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I like that, Lisa.
Well, that's what, because she's gone now. Her work's done. She came over before we were on camera, and you said, well, I'm all done with that kind of stuff. I've chosen. And she comes right on over and jumps up here. And I said, well, hang on. We got something coming in here, and
yeah, it's not often that you bring up something to play with, and I'm like, I'm kind of over that. I don't. So it's not often. So yeah, I'm glad Rose picked that up to pull it in to play with, because I think it's been perfect.
Well, let's, so here's from a very practical and linear thing. Okay. There's a battle going on and the unseen enemy, and we got to get it right now. We absolutely do. Okay. That's true on the linear. Absolutely. But if you don't have a plan for what comes next, at least for the outlying feel and energies of it, the kind of the gist of it, are we going to be in a place where we're not going to have hierarchy again, so that we can't have new people who are being the totalitarian tyranny and yada, 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 right? Just an amorphous sense of where we're going, then we're really stuck, right? Just from a linear thing. So it's very helpful to have that whole expanse of, even from linear thing, to keep moving forward. Because it's so ingrained to keep turning back and saying, I don't want that. Yeah, but what do you want? Okay, well, how are you doing that? What are you doing to moving that forward? What are you doing to be accountable for that? You, only you. It's an inside job. So if you don't like being told that you have to wear a mask or whatever else it is, yet you're insisting on telling somebody else that they gotta do this, or they don't understand, or what. Okay, the metaphors are different, but the frequency is the same. So you've chosen, and when will you begin? Do you see what I'm saying? This is what we're all, and make no mistake about it, every single being, metaphors are different, but every single being right now is wrestling with, in various degrees and various intensities, this right now, because it's doing exactly what it's designed, and we're the ones who designed it and set up to do, which is to clear all the distortions off, let all of the light shine in, unmask all of it. And so when we're railing against, we don't want to wear a mask, I got it, because I'm right there with that. Yet we're not then moving forward from our energy frequency, from our mindset and focus, from our heart coherence that we're creating and setting up and carrying that energy to move things forward. We may have unmasked one thing about them, linear, tangible mask, but we haven't unmasked a bunch of other layers from us. So it's, you know, it's a hyper accelerated ascension. It's a hyper accelerated evolution, transformation, stepping onto a new energetic landscape. And we're that good, we are tearing down the old, cleaning it up, and laying the new landscape all at the same time. We can't shoot the rat bastards. Okay, everybody's dead, lying on the ground. Okay, now what do we do, right? Because we're energy beings. Something doesn't go out of existence and you wait around for a while, you know, to come, you know, well, we have to have a new government, or we have to have a new council. We got to have somebody else new to, okay, well then, right? So it's in various ways, and it all starts in here. We're unmasking all of this stuff. You could say unmasking because we're learning how to speak our truth. We're learning how to give voice to that which is coming from our heart and our knowing, and not from the brain. We're unmasking and what is it being talked about a lot right now? The unmasking of Flynn and all sorts of others. We're unmasking in a way that covert action that we each have been engaging in to hide what? That we're not small. That's what's going on. This is the war is real, and it's inside each one of us, in the war of the truth of who we are and the distortion, and how attached, how willing we are to bring all of our battalions to bear, to let go of it and fully unmask it, or to hold it tight, and our vested interests, for whatever those reasons are, in it. And then that battle moves out into the materialized, tangible, touchable way. Why do you suppose that the world as we knew it or thought it was is gone, basically, ostensibly, as of March 13th? And so fast, so fast.
I want to point out here, I would be remiss if I didn't point out that this is at least the second
we
time.
began.
I was going to say, this is at least the second time, if not the third time, that in conversations that the three of us have had, we have said that the world that you knew is gone. Because we said it first, December 21st, 2017, in regards to the executive order that the president signed, 13818. The world we knew has ended. You said that very specifically, DP. I will not forget that. And now it is, you know, it's in, and so it keeps, and everything, and you're right. I just want to say that it seems to be happening faster and faster and faster. And what I've also noticed for myself, along with that, to point out what you're speaking on here, for me anyway, what I notice is that crumbling down and the building up all at the same time for those who feel like, they won't wake up, I don't know what to do, and all of that. What is happening because of what is going on within each one of us already, holding the light, making it go from a intellectual exercise to an alchemical epiphany, is pulling what we are seeing. Make no mistake.
Yes.
As far as I'm concerned, everything we are seeing right now has been pulled, albeit a bit kicking and screaming, right into reality, because we've been holding the light, so to speak, as so many folks want to talk about, holding the light, the truth, knowing the truth of who you are, or even suspecting at this point.
Right.
Even the intellectual exercise that you're a creator being is helping to pull this in. So making that choice, even if you are not sure about it, but making the choice to look at it and move in that direction helps pull it all in, as far as I'm concerned. That's what I'm noticing. And, I just wanted to point that out because, things are changing. And I know I get it. There's a lot of folks that feel like, oh, it's never going to happen and all that. I just don't feel that way myself.
But look at the proof. So look at the proof. The world as we knew it ended for all to see, dramatically, tangibly, markedly. I don't care how far you're sound asleep and snoring. Huh, what was that? Right? Because you can see it.
Yeah.
How do you think it got that way? The out there doesn't get out there until we put it out there. And we've put it out there. And so we've hyper accelerated the move to, and you could hold it as perceived totalitarianism or tyranny or all that kind of stuff. What you're actually doing, it's the illumination of, it's the projection of, you can now see it, it's tangible. It's not hidden in plain sight. It's in plain sight. You keep tripping over it, keeps pissing you off, right? And getting you whooped up, right? So the next part in that whooped upness is to go, oh, okay, how am I going to begin in earnest? So, right, do I want to be perpetually whooped up and feeding energy in this spinning thing, right? Because then it's doing more to them, and there's always a them that keeps changing, and so we keep dancing around this thing. Well, I'm good with that, thanks. So that's how we move it forward. And people will look at if you're on the thing and you like the routine of the Patriots and Trump and all, okay, fine. So he keeps saying it's gonna magic, it's gonna disappear, it's gonna be here, it's gonna be moving forward, things are gonna change, things are changing. Look how far they've changed. We've done these stages and steps, right? So on a linear level, he's absolutely right. And there's a resonance there. There is a resounding reverberation of our own individual frequencies connecting with the other own individual frequencies and his and source and all that is, right? That's saying yes. And so this vibration, like these drums, is getting stronger and stronger and stronger. And in the beating of that, in this kind of cacophony of these vibrations, which are vibrations of love and expansion, reverberating, you're going to get, highlighting things like the timpani drum is coming in and highlighting something of, this governor doing this or Fauci doing this or whatever it is, because that's echoing. It's putting a crescendo on that revelation that once before hidden in plain sight, no longer hidden and right here. And so that's how you move it forward. That's how you're building it up. The collective coherent structure of that light and awakening is cracking and bursting and breaking all of those heretofore unseen, unperceived, unknown, just perhaps an intellectual exercise, right, on that metaphor, into what it is. As soon as it's cracked, it isn't needed anymore. It can then dissolve. And what's cracked it, what's come through, what's crowned in the birthing of that has come through, can now spill forth. Ask anybody who's given birth. It's a messy process, you know? That's what we're doing.
Yep.
How do you speed it up? What we're talking about. Focus. Be the knowing. And when something makes you sad or pisses you off or frustrates you, or you go, I don't, great. Thank you. Own it. Play with whatever that emotion is that comes up. Dive into it. Don't wallow in it. Dive into it. Different than wallowing. Wallowing is kind of floundering. Oh, right? Okay. Dive in deep.
Yeah.
Mine it for all you can
wallowing
get.
is. Wallowing is, oh, woe is me.
Right.
That's wallowing. Diving in is looking at things a little bit like, oh, I don't know, expressing it all the way through, like BZ was saying about beating the crap out of that is expressing.
Right.
And wallowing is, oh, woe is me forever and a day, and I can't. That's wallowing. Sorry, I had to go there. I know, because I've wallowed in my life.
Yeah, I made sick of myself wallowing. It's like, okay, criminy, can you enough already with the wallowing shit? Get over yourself and move on.
Wallowed quite a bit in my day, so I know exactly what that is.
Yes, so now we're being called to be fierce in our consciousness, fierce in our ability to stand in love, to be love, hold love, and give love, and to be fierce and resolute in that knowing. It's a magical tool. It's a magical tool, and it's incredibly powerful. You could say it has more power than legislators wielding laws or the police with guns or anything else. People are waking up all over the place, but we have to claim it. The door to the cage is open, man. You got to walk through it. Nay, you got to take all the bars off. And you don't even need to work that hard at it, because you can just dematerialize it. That's how good you are. You're brilliant. You just dematerialize.
Well, honestly, it feels like that. Okay, so because I have been asking myself a lot, I mean, throughout this entire conversation, I think this is why we ended up talking about this, because I don't know, I'm not interested in playing the waking up of anybody else kind of game anymore. I'm not. I do, like you, I keep my toe into where is everybody at? What are we looking at? But honestly, it's more like I don't have a reaction to much of any of it anymore. I don't even really have much of a response. I might share something because if I'm nudged to share or whatever, but I don't know. It's an odd. I find myself in a very different space.
Well, the beauty of it, there's a lot of 6 or 7 different comments, very pointed, saying different things about all the gist that I'll round them up to say is, when you're doing what we're speaking about and playing with here, right? Mm-hmm. You could from a very linear, not accurate, but a very linear way, you could say it's a side benefit is the waking up, because through your actions, through your holding that light, through your resolute and your fierceness about moving forward and knowing the truth of who you are and shining that brightly, you're waking people up, because you're not giving them, this thing was broken, or this is any of the facets or the different cubby holes of red pilling or knowledge or truths or whatever. You're going straight for the frequency thing. You're bypassing all that. They don't, that's the saying. You could look at the saying, people will choose to know. They could know all the details, or they could just jump to the full frequency of it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And so in your trail, like we've talked about before, when you drive in a different neighborhood, this energetic trail of magical transformation comes out and it just lays there and spreads throughout, and people avail themselves of it or not. It's their choice. No one's doing anything to anybody else. But this is the same thing. You're on your path. You're holding resolute and fierceness in that expansion, in that consciousness. And in your wake, in your flow, out in front of you, behind you, on top of you, all around, is emanating this. It's transmitting this. People can choose or not to take advantage of it. They don't need to know that's the General Flynn case, or that's the Fauci thing, or that's this, or that's financial slavery, whatever. They don't need to know that. They can simply go, wow, I feel different when I'm experiencing, encountering that frequency vibration. I like that better. I want to play with that.
Yes. I love that, because that's really the truth of it. It's about modulating your own frequency. And it doesn't matter what anybody else is doing around you. It only matters about what you're doing. And I've had the question, about what everybody else is doing? It doesn't matter, because in my field, when my field is cohesive, and I am fully in control of it, and I have it at the highest frequency that I can carry, and at this point through practice, I can carry quite a lot. I can nullify everything else below it. So what happens is you walk into my field and you can't do whatever, X or Y that, like for instance, if someone wants to do me harm, they probably can't even see me. You can't find me because I'm not on that level. That frequency, yes, I'm there, but I'm not resonating with that frequency of victimhood activated. And so they don't understand, the other, that I carry a specific frequency or any of that. They just can't see me. I don't exist in their world. It doesn't come up into their thought, or if it did and they come into my field, they forgot it. Can't remember why. I don't know. I was presenting this to my husband as a theory early on. And I said to him, my theory is that if two of us are doing this, we can commandeer a lot more territory. We can nullify things and nobody will know why, okay? They'll just know that in a certain vicinity, they can't even think a negative thought. And maybe they'll never even put that 2 and 2 together, but we will know. And we will have influence over our surroundings. And I was really presenting it as setting the tone, the frequency in our home consciously.
Right.
And then knowing that all who enter in it are affected by it. But in a good way, meaning we're not taking away anybody's free will. but the frequency is so high that it nullifies the lower frequencies. And so they don't even rise up in the heart of the people who are experiencing it, swimming around in it. So yeah, I might be elevating everybody's consciousness in the room, right? But it doesn't mean that when they leave the room, they can access it, right? Because they were accessing me, or I was making it available in a very profound way. So it doesn't harm me that they were swimming around in my frequency. It actually helps me. I think everything helps me. Everything that happens helps me. It helps me see me. It helps me learn. It's all data, and it helps me choose. It helps me navigate. It just helps me. And when I see it in that perspective, then nothing harms me. And that's the truth of it, because it can.
You bring up a very good point, actually, in one that it took me a while to get to, and that is that even when we don't realize certain things about the frequency that we carry, okay, and I'm going to use myself as an example of this. You know, I've figured out now that there is a frequency that I carry that has to do with that hashtag all becomes transparent now. I am very fiercely looking at all facets of myself. That's a frequency I'm carrying. And because I carry that frequency in all moments of now, there are those who simply stay away from me, period, because it is uncomfortable to be in my frequential presence. For them, they don't understand why. I do now. I didn't always. I will say that, you know, again, that was one of those things I sort of wallowed over. Oh, why doesn't anybody like me? Why doesn't anybody want to come and play with me? So that was a wallowing point. But I now, again, from that perspective, I see the truth of some of that for myself. And because now I get it, we all get to choose how we want to, when we want to, whether we want to, in any of those sorts of things. It's very similar to what you're speaking on there. Now, I didn't realize that at first. And I think we all carry specific frequencies that we don't even really know for sure, maybe. Luckily, you do. You've been at this, you know, quite some time, and you went about it in a very conscious fashion. I kind of backed up into this from hanging out with you. So thank you for that. But I'm just saying that that's a very real thing that you're speaking on there. I think we all have that. You've called it a frequential set point more than once. And I think that's a very real thing and plays into that for each of the singular.
And it's that set point is created by your habitual thought patterns.
Mm-hmm.
So that's all under your control.
Right.
Yeah, it's the neighborhood you're choosing to live in.
Yep.
You know, because, and you're just consciously choosing it, that's all. And, you know, you can play with it in different ways. When you were speaking, Lisa, I was chuckling because it was so right on what you were describing, and so real, so true, so palpable, and yet in a large extent so simple to simply be, convey, and hold that, yet excruciatingly difficult. So and which is, as I've always said, when it's like that, you know you're on the right path because you're just about in that sweet spot, and it's gonna break open from there. But there's two things that came to mind from just a very linear, tangible proofing sort of a thing. Where I live and where I work, it's a big area, and there's different gates, you know, because there's animals and stuff, and so there's gates, and they're activated, you know, remotely when you come up to it into the golf carts and stuff that you drive, and not a single one will recognize me because my frequency is shielded, will not talk to linear lower bass things. It doesn't matter. And someone will say, well, it's that car. No, because I can get in a vehicle that someone else drove right through and it said, yep. And I can get it in and it goes, it doesn't seem. It's because I'm invisible to it. So on the going through the gate thing, okay, it's a little bit annoying because you got to do something a little bit differently. But the rest, as Lisa was saying, people don't see her, right? The frequency is in a different octave range, so to say. And so what I'm describing is electronics that are on this range have not encountered that, so it doesn't have the density to trigger it. So the reason I bring that up is because there are things that I can guarantee you in everyone's life and experience that may be very subtle, and you may, because they happen all, you don't have a notice it, but you are doing this. You are showing yourself to yourself these characteristics of more expansive frequencies all the time. Just play around and notice them. The other thing is that comes to mind, again, if I was to Sheila's wallowing, why is it that when people come over here, they're happy to be and visit for a minute and then they fall sound asleep? Because the frequencies are so high. They're just, or I'll walk into the office and, I think it's a great thing because they've decided to take the sleepy train and jump up. They chose to do it.
Yes.
And some people won't even come near. They're just kind of, either their path always seems to avoid
right
space, or they'll come for a nanosecond, which is just grin, and off they go, So we can see these tangible, real things around us that, again, let us know that we are working with and playing with our energetic field and our frequency in really demonstrable ways. And you can get signs as well if you're in the wallowing thing, and that you're going to see very demonstrably as well, maybe not as pleasurable or as fun or just, kind of a coolish sort of thing, because vehicles are not working properly or things are breaking down. There's that resonant discord is, again, it's showing you things that you can go, oh, I want to make a new choice. Oh, right? Choosing. And that's what's going on.
Yeah. So much. So much. Well, so now you've chosen. When will you begin? In earnest. I like this one.
Mm-hmm. That's nice.
Yeah.
They all are.
Did
That's why
either
I
of
keep
you
giving up.
say what, Lisa? I'm sorry.
These are all so nice. I love every conversation we have.
Well, me too. I
All the weave.
Yeah, I always gain something from having conversation with you ladies. That's why you're the Gal Pal Posse. Was there anything else either one of you wanted to add to this one?
No, I would just say go forth, and if you've chosen, where are you going to go for next?
Well, even if you're concerned that it's, I don't know why I'm feeling to say this again, but even if on some level, after some of what you've heard here during this conversation, you start thinking to yourself, well, is it just an intellectual exercise for me? Don't worry about that. Just continue on. Mm-hmm. I can say that from my own personal experience. A lot of what because what I noticed too for myself when I had that really huge alchemical epiphany for me, where I really finally got the grokking in regards to judgment and attachment, is that saying it repeating it, looking at it again and again and again is what helped me. If I hadn't been looking at it, feeling into all of that, talking about it, which is another reason why conscious conversations are so important in my mind. For me anyway, it is these kinds of conversations that has helped expand my consciousness in ways that, well, go back and take a look at some of the early videos. It might help you get it. So thanks to both of you ever so much. Not just for today, of course, but for all of the, yeah, I feel a bit remiss in saying that to the two of you. You know that, well, as of October, it will be 3 years that we've been chatting with BZ. But it is now 3 years that Conscious Conversation Central was started. And so I just want to say how much I appreciate the two of you and all of these conversations we've had. Because
it's a dancing the light fantastic as well.
Oh man, what a ride, man. I'm telling you. And I've just had such a great time and continue to do so in every moment now. So, well, if you both feel that this is complete, we can wrap it up.
Yep.
All right, awesome. I want to say, if you're watching this on BZ's channel, come on over and subscribe to Conscious Conversation Central. If you're watching it on Conscious Conversation Central, go over to BZ's channel and subscribe over there as well. Hit the like button in both places. Hey, come on, give us a hand. Get it into those silly ass algorithms, you know, so that more folks will see it. And hit the thumbs up button and the notification bell if you want to know when we upload videos and or go live, which I'm doing every morning now. And well, sometimes in the evening too. So thank you both so much. There will be ways to get in touch with both of these ladies as well as myself in the show more section, as there is in every video.
Have fun. You guys are brilliant.
Mwah. Till next time.
Much love.